All right, let's get started on the dividend part of the main content area. So the first thing we are going to do is we're going to stock view, and we'll get started on styling this content area. So we haven't had much use for the stock view module, the stock view CSS module for now, but now we're going to put in a few styles. And we want it to be quite similar to this content area that we have here. So we can grab those styles and put them into the content class. And we need to go ahead and add a max width of var site width, and we'll give it a margin. All right, so we're gonna have to add a container here, and that's gonna have a max width of site width and a margin of 0 auto. And let's go to our stock view, and we'll add the container. And that should line everything up nicely. So I want to go ahead and create the dividends page. So I'm gonna go source pages, and I'm gonna put it inside of the stock view. So here we'll create a dividend folder and a dividend JSX file, and we'll create the dividend module.css. So let's remove this, and we'll go ahead and we'll create the dividend, and we'll go ahead and create the component. Return hello world for now, and we need to go back to our stock view and import our dividends. Component. And we'll plug that in, and that should take care of the problems. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and get started on this dividend per share list. So we'll go ahead and create a new element or component inside of our source components folder, and we'll call it dividend list, and we'll go ahead and create the component, and we'll create the dividend list module CSS, and also make sure we import that. So let's see what we want. We want a container and a header, a border, and then we want to render out a list. All right, so let's go ahead and start creating the markup for that. So we'll say section, and we'll give it a class name of styles and dividend list, and then we'll have a h3, and we'll say that this is going to be the dividend per share, and we're going to have a div with a class name of border. Make that self-closing, and we'll give this a class name of styles header, and make sure we return it, otherwise it's going to complain. And then we want to have an unordered list here, and we're just going to put in a list item for now. We're just going to have 2 elements in it. So let's go ahead and say, just put this in, hard code that for now, but this will be dynamically inserted once we're done. So let's say list and class name styles list item, and after the list we want a border again, and let's see, we want this trend section, which is going to be a header and some items, some icons. All right, so let's put that in as well. We'll put in another header, and we'll put in trends, and we'll create a container, and inside of the container we're going to have 2 items, and that's going to be whether or not it's growing and it's consistent. All right, so let's go ahead and import those. React component as chart icon, and we'll give that the path to the assets, and let's see, that's going to be the chart line, and we'll say import React component as piggy bank icon from assets icons, and we're going to give that the piggy bank. So inside of the container we're going to have 2 items, and we're going to say styles trend container, and it's going to have a chart icon and a text. So we're going to say growing here, and bear in mind I'm putting this in now just to get the component to look the way I want it to, but this is all going to be dynamic once we plug in the data. So we're going to have to change some things, but I just want to get the feel of the component and start creating the styling first, and then I go back and I refactor it. So let's go ahead and continue on, and we're going to say styles icon, and we'll create another one, and this is going to be the piggy bank icon, and we're going going to say consistent. And after that, we're going to have the ranking for dividend per share. Alright, so underneath the container here, we'll add a new section or div ranking. That's going to be a flex container, and it's going to have some texts. And we're going to grab that text from here. And it's going to have so we'll say ranking container, and we'll add another class name that says styles dot ranking. All right, so I think that's all the markup we're going to need. So let's go ahead and import this into our dividend component. And we'll plug that into here. All right, so we're having some problems with our imports in the dividend list. And we forgot to put on the SVG extension. All right. So now we have a horrendous looking component, and let's go ahead and fix that. So in our dividend lists, we need to go ahead and add some styles. So let's go ahead and say that the dividend list is going to have a width of 300 pixels, a border radius of var. I hope that's what I called it. Let's see. Of course I didn't. Box border radius. Alright, and let's give it a padding, and let's standardize this as well. Box border, box padding, 15 pixels. And we'll say var. Actually, we'll go ahead and go to our stock list, and we'll go ahead and see what we did here. Alright, so we did 20, so we'll say var box border or box padding. Now we need to save that and go to index, and box padding, we'll put that at 20 pixels. And then in our dividend list, we'll add let's go ahead and close some of these. In our dividend list, we'll add the var box padding. And then let's go ahead and just do icons. And we'll do width 20 pixel, height 20 pixel. Call fill of white, and I also think so that'll take those and make them completely invisible. All right. So let's go ahead and give it a background color. White. And we'll go ahead and style the border as well. That's going to have a margin top and bottom of 15 pixels, a width of 100%, a height of 4 pixels, and a background color of light gray. border radius box border radius. And let's go ahead and change the height to 3 pixels. And we'll get started on these headers as well. So let's go to the dividend list and grab the header section, our header class. And we'll go ahead and add a variable for the size. So let's say h3 font size 0.85 rem, and we'll take a look at what that looks like. Var h3 font size, and we'll set the font weight to normal. All right, I think that's not too bad. Maybe we'll say 0.9. Yeah, that's good. And now let's take a look at the list. So we'll go ahead and go to the component and we'll grab the list. And we'll go back to the CSS module and we'll get started styling it. So margin is going to be 0, padding is going to be 0, and list style type is going to be none. And then the list item will have a property of display flex and justify content space between. All right. So looks like our styles aren't being applied, or not, at least not all of them. So let's see, dividend list. So the list, we'll hit save, and we'll go back. And it's still not being properly applied. All right, let's go ahead and just say we'll call that dividend list container, and we'll call this dividend list. And we'll say dividend list container, dividend list, and still we're having some issues with the class not being applied. So let's just take a look at what's going on. So we have a UL with the class name of styles.dividend list, and we're saying margin 0, padding 0, list style type none. So some of the class properties are being applied, and let's see. Padding 0. Alright, let's just check out the console here. Oh, so that's what's going on. We have a typo right here. So let's fix that. And now everything's working as intended. All right. So let's go ahead and fix our trends section. And I think we're going to add a div with a class name of styles icon container, and we'll put that around the icons. And let's go ahead and get started on styling this. So say display flex, and we'll give that a margin top and bottom of 15 pixels. And inside of the trend containers, we're also going to give that a display property of flex. And we're going to say that the container is going to justify the content with space to it. So that will push each one to each side. All right, now let's focus on the icons. So I'm going to say icon container, box sizing, border box, width 25 pixels, height 25 pixels, border radius of 50%, so that's going to make it round, and the background color is going to be var exchange green. And that's a little bit too bright for this component, so we need to make that a little bit more like this color. And we'll grab that and we'll give that a variable, and we'll say dividend green, and we'll hit save. And don't add any extra characters. Dividend green, and we'll give it a padding of 5 pixels, and we'll give it a display flex, and we'll give it justify content center and align items center. All right. Now let's go ahead and do the icons. Maybe we can make them, oh, maybe they're as large as they can be, considering. Let's just increase these instead, and we'll go ahead and we'll align the items center here so that they are properly aligned. And then we'll take the icon container and we'll give that a margin right of 5 pixels. All right, so let's go ahead and style the last part here, which is going to be the ranking container. And we'll go ahead and we'll say that the ranking container has a display flex, and the ranking is going to be width 50 pixels, height 50 pixels, background color dividend green, and we're gonna give it a color of white and a display flex property, and then we're gonna justify content center and align item center. and this will have a border radius of var box border radius. And let's go ahead and increase the width and height a little bit. So we'll do something like this. That's maybe too much. And we'll give it a font size and a font weight bold. And we'll increase it to 1.2, I think, and give it a margin left 15 pixels. And we'll copy all of this and pop it into the ranking. And then we'll take the ranking container and we'll align the items center. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to our dividend list. And let's go ahead and just add a few more list items just so we can see what it's going to look like. And we need to probably add some margins here. And that's going to be in the list item margin top and bottom of 8 pixels. Let's say 10. All right, so now we're getting somewhere on this component here. We'll go ahead and leave it there for now. It's already a pretty long video, but when we come back, we'll start to look at how we can dynamically insert the data, and we're going to do some slight CSS adjustments as well. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you there.